I get a call, can you write my book? And I'm like, okay, hi, like, who are you, first off? So it's interesting that, like, first off, how some sales happen when you're chasing them down and, making those cold calls, but then other...
When the doubt gets loud, but answer that call. Vision ain't real till you grind at speed, so breathing deep. Then call the damn leads. Call the damn leads.
Hey, welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drew B. Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I've seen it, been through it, heard about it. Now I'm bringing it to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community. Because let's be honest, this is the greatest job on earth. It doesn't matter where you come from, what background, what personality type, you can create an amazing life in sales. And today's guest is no stranger to that journey. I'd like to welcome Danielle Hutchinson to the show. How are you?
Good, doing great. It's so great to see you again, Drew B. It's a pleasure to be on here, and I'm looking forward to having a fun conversation.
Absolutely. I want to jump right in. I want to hear your craziest sales story.
Yeah, so for anybody listening today, I am a ghostwriter and an editor, and what we do here at Authority on Demand is we help people bring their visions to life through the context of a book or a podcast, media appearances, whatever it may be. So my craziest sales story, I have to say it happened very organically. I was literally at ShopRite, just shopping, a casual Sunday afternoon. I get a call, can you write my book? And I'm like, okay, hi, like, who are you, first off? So it's interesting that, like, first off, how some sales happen when you're chasing them down and, making those cold calls. But then other times it's like they find you and it can just happen in the middle of the day, right? So I get this call and he's like, I want to write this book. I believe it was about 60,000 words he was looking for. He's like, I need it done in a week. I'm like, okay, so it usually takes like maybe 3 months, 6 months if we're working hard, but a week, right? Like we want 7 days. Oh, okay. So I'm like, let me take a minute here. Let me pick out like what cheese I want with my sandwiches real quick. If I put them in my shopping cart, just take a minute for myself, think about
Priorities here.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, like we can make this work, but you have to be in agreement, So we made out a plan day by day. We spent that entire week for the right price, like making it happen. And let me tell you, it ended up working. Definitely some roadblocks along the way, kind of like, look, you want this to be done. It's a common triangle, right? It's either like time versus quality or quality, time, money, whatever it might be. So with the right price point, all that. But, we hit some roadblocks. We had to work around a couple of revisions. End of the day, it worked out great. He got his book out there, and now he's able to kind of establish himself in his own field, which for him happened to be spirituality. Good for him. It worked out. But yeah, I guess the lesson of the story is kind of be ready, like wherever it might happen, be ready for that cold call, be ready to find the right solution to help your clients. You got to be adaptable, got to be flexible.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's also a big takeaway for me in that story is a willingness to know your worth. And
Right.
The reason I say that is, listen, if a project would normally take you 3 months and someone's asking you to do it in, I'm not great at fractions, but like 1/36th of the time, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the math somewhere in there, 1/16th of the time or something. Like there's a cost to that. And
Exactly.
It's okay to express those things to your clients and to the people that you're working with. And so, Danielle, is that something that you've always been confident and able to do? Or did you have to work up to be able to say, like, hey, if you want it like this, we're going to do it like this?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started ghostwriting and editing, it's like you're always trying to people please, right? Like, yeah, I can make that happen, like, no worries. And then, of course, you'd get like revision after you submit, or so on and so forth. So I'd say it's a matter of really getting to know what the client's looking for and then being straightforward, like, can I deliver or not? As a ghostwriter, there's certain voices I'm very comfortable with partaking and, kind of emulating in a book, but others, like, I can't really be you because it's too different, right? So you got to prioritize those projects that are right for you and those tasks. That's just like another example of the same kind of concept, for sure. So you grow with the projects. Yeah.
Well, and what I'd be curious about is, because I'm a big believer in building authority and creating these types of content, right? Podcasts and books. I love this stuff. So what is a good indication for someone that they're maybe at a point in their professional career or journey where it would make sense to create something like that? When should someone start a podcast or write a book? Like, why would they do that? What's the whole reasoning behind it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I say it's when you realize that you haven't scaled in a while, right? Like maybe you have a great, maybe you've been doing blog posts for a while, right? And you've got a lot of those out there. It's going great. You're getting some clients here and there, but has anything changed in a while? It's just a steady stream. Can we do better? So that's why I always think it's important to create pillars, like multiple streams of your own authority out there. Like, okay, you have blog posts, turn it into a book. You have your book, start a podcast. You have a podcast, start a YouTube channel. The more avenues you have to express what you're doing and why you're the best in your field at what you do, well, that's more ways for people to come to you. So haven't scaled in a while, think about how can I do better? That's what I always ask myself, at least.
I mean, it's always a great question to reflect upon is, how can I be better? How can I do better? And what I'd be curious is like, what made you decide to go into ghostwriting and helping others create these kinds of content? Is it like, what was the driving factor there?
Well, I mean, that's like kind of ties directly into my last question. I was a teacher. So I was teaching English. It's something I always like, of course, the reading, the writing. We all know there's not much scalability in that type of field. So, I figured I get home at 3 p.m. every day. Why waste my time watching Bridgerton or just hanging out? Let me actually sit down and do something I love, make some money doing it. And then a couple of years later, here I am. And I work for an amazing publishing company. I do a lot of freelance work on my own too. And I make my yearly teacher salary in a month. So it's a win-win for all. Love it.
It's interesting how we can see a path and go down it and realize over time how amazing of a transition it can be. But I would imagine when you're in a position now, are you still teaching and doing this on the side, or is it like is this your full-time gig?
So it's funny because yes, I am teaching, but I consider this my full time in the teaching as a side, just to be completely candid, because I figure why not just keep that in the back burner. If it's working out, I'm still able to do this too. So it's a lot of like not sleeping, but it's exactly what I want to do. I'm loving it. Best of both worlds.
And that's the reason I ask, because there's a lot of people that are out there listening right now. And you may be one of them that's listening, that you're in a position where it's like, hey, I do kind of enjoy my job. I like what I do, but I also am interested in doing these other things. And I think there's a lot of folks out there that will hammer that you have to pick one or the other and that you can't, tiptoe around. And to a sense, they're correct. And also, though, I love meeting people who have found a way to create somewhat of a balance. I know a little less sleep is part of this game, but like a somewhat of a balance around like, hey, here's the thing that I do that brings me an income, and then something that I can do on top of it and beyond that really brings fulfillment while still utilizing that expertise. And so I appreciate that you shared that, because I think there's a lot of listeners that are probably in that spot that just need a little reminder that it's okay to build things up to where you're confident in what you see as your main thing.
Yeah, and it goes into that like age-old metaphor, like don't put your eggs in one basket, like why not just have it all out there if you're able to do so? It's not for everybody. I mean, I don't have kids. I'm living a single life with my dog, so I'm just able to spend all my time doing the things I love doing, working on client projects, making that money, having fun, and just following up with my clients, building a great rapport, which kind of ties back into the whole point of your podcast too, is like connecting with the leads, right? So even though I'm still doing one job, it's a matter of balancing it and keeping those connections throughout all avenues too. Just kind of to tie it back into that.
No, that's a great point. And one of the things a lot of people we run into mention is, how do I even get leads, right? I've got a cool product. I've got something that I feel like should help people. What are some of the ways that you're using to generate leads for yourself? And how are you utilizing that on a consistent basis to keep the pipeline full?
Yeah, and it ties into the aspect of like having multiple pillars to build your credibility, right? So like every place that you show your face and talk about what you do, well, that's some connection you've built. Like you and I, for example, hey, like, you were on my podcast once and I'm on your podcast. We have that connection now. Down the road, who knows, like somebody on one of our shows finds us interesting on the talk, that's a lead, right? Same deal with if I'm on a YouTube channel making promos, talk to somebody in the comments, there you go. I started live streaming while I'm doing my work. There you go, some more connections. People are like, what are you up to? I say, I'm ghostwriting. Do you want your book written? So it's about keeping that door open, and kind of just always thinking about opportunities, because at the end of the day, especially when it comes to book writing, everyone's got a story. So there's never not an opportunity.
I 100% agree. I love telling people to write a book. I mean, the act of sitting down and telling some of the stories that you've told hundreds of times, maybe you've never told anybody, getting it out on paper and being able to share that, it's a unique feeling. And when you get to share that story with the world and they read through it and someone comes and they're like, oh my God, I read your book. I mean, it's incredible the things that you've been through. There's this such deep emotional connection. And what I'm a big believer in right now, especially, is you don't have to have it all complete, right? The story doesn't have to be finished for you to put out a book. And so when you're working with your clients and trying to help them understand this, I would imagine there's an air of perfectionism where people are constantly like, I don't know if it's ready. I think there's more to it. How do you get them to understand, like, hey, here's a great point where we get this thing out there?
Yeah, I'd say it's about setting expectations from the beginning, having those conversations early on about how many revisions we have down the line, and also guiding them for what to look for throughout the process of writing the book. So, for example, if I send them a chapter, they might not know what is quality versus what they might not like yet. So being like, hey, like, these are some specific things to review. Does this paragraph sound like you? Does this framework really align with what you do on a daily basis? So like guiding them through that revision process helps a lot, because then by the time the book's done, there is a point where you like to be like, okay, we're finished. It's ready for formatting and publishing. But if they know, okay, like I have like 3 rounds of revisions left on this, for example, let me like be focused on what kind of questions I'm asking and what changes need to be made. I hope that answers your question. Basically, like if you have a clear set of expectations and steps to follow, it helps them stay on that deadline too.
It is very helpful. I'm gonna ask a similar question, but it's parallel in terms
Okay.
of what are the important pieces for someone to consider when they're putting their book or their podcast together? Like, what are the themes or the elements, or like what are the things that need to be included to be successful creating like a book or a podcast, like some sort of authority piece?
Many different factors. Actually, that's a toughie. I'd say, like first off, is to think about your audience and your goals. Perhaps you're looking to cast a wide net for your audience, or maybe you just want a very niche type of readership. It depends on what you're looking for. So that kind of is a huge factor for how you're positioning yourself, of course. Like whether you want your content to be accessible to everybody or very specialized, where you can have more jargon, more specific phrases, that sort of thing. But even more so than that, I'd say it also has to do with just picking out what you're passionate about too, because you can't build a platform on something that maybe you don't care about, or just say like, everybody these days are talking about wellness. Let me write about wellness. If that's not your thing, then don't go into that category. And I guess as a third thing, kind of branching off of that, is look at what's already out there. If wellness, for example, is something that everyone's talking about, well, maybe don't follow that, because then it's harder for you to stand out in that field. Find something that's more specific to you, like wellness in a specific category or something completely different. So just look at yourself in the mirror, right? And think about what matters to you and what type of audience you want around you at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's great advice. It's always interesting to me when someone starts talking about like, oh, I want to do this thing, and it's like, okay, well, what's the purpose? Like,
Right.
what's the next step after that? And they're like, I don't know.
Right. You
All
need to
well,
game plan, right? Yeah. So like a question back to you then, like if somebody does come up with that idea, like what do you say? And I kind of riff off of it too. Like, what is that game plan? Once you have that idea, like what do you do next? Right. Like,
I think for me, when someone's considering a book or a podcast or some sort of authority piece, you kind of touch on it. It's like, who are we talking to? Who's the audience for this thing? Because we can have the greatest story in the world, but if we're telling it to the wrong people, it's not going to do anything, right?
Right.
Like it's kind of like all the people are like, I want to sell ice to an Eskimo. It's like,
Right. They've heard it 1,000 times, or not
that's not
relevant.
necessary. Yeah, it's not relevant. I really want to make an impact, and so audience first. Who am I helping? What is the big scary thing that they're dealing with? That by the end of my book or my podcast, they're gonna feel 100% more confident going out and trying to do that thing. That's number one. Number two, I think too many people are afraid to give away the good stuff. And what I mean by that is they're gatekeeping the content, the tactics, the stuff that can truly change lives because they're trying to make it into a transactional thing versus a true impact and legacy thing. And the piece at the end of it is if you give away the game and you tell them all the secret sauce and exactly how to do all the things, you got to give them the next step on how to contact you, because 99% of people ain't going to do the thing that you give them the tactics and steps on how to do. They're going to want you to do it for them. And so you have to have a logical next step for these people to take. And most people fall off right at number one and number two because they don't know who they're supposed to be talking to or why. And they don't feel comfortable giving away the game.
Yeah, I love that you said all of that, and you kind of had it right on the tip of your tongue there. So even though I like kind of put you on the spot with that too, if you don't get a lot of guests to ask you a question back, but I'm glad you said that because I definitely do the same thing with my clients. Like especially with the first thing you mentioned, like what does it matter to the audience? I call that like focusing on the reader's pain points or your audience's pain points, right? Like what are they going to get out of your book? You're writing a memoir, for example. Well, don't just talk about the things that matter to you, which is important, but how can what matters to you help other people? And you got to kind of frame it that way, especially when I'm developmentally editing someone's manuscript. Maybe the opening section starts with a great story, but who cares? Why should I keep reading? How is it going to help me? Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we all like talking about ourselves, but how is it relevant to the person actually reading your book? So focusing on those pain points and all the other points that you mentioned too, definitely build off of that. I love that you mentioned all of that, especially the call to action at the end. Like, you may have a great story, but then, okay, like again, so what? So what's the next step? So having that contact info. Some people forget
like
that.
You watch a really, really awesome movie and then they cut right before the end scene that tells you what happens. And you're like, but wait, where do I go now? What happens next?
Right,
like you got humans crave this understanding of where they're going. And that's the thing that I think a lot of book writers especially kind of fall flat on is how to transition them to that next stage of the process. Or, hey, here's these other tools and resources for you to leverage. Because as you said, each of these is a pillar that you can utilize to grow your business, to generate leads, to fill the pipeline. And so, Danielle, I'd be curious when you're out and about, right? You're at a Price Right and you get a random call while you're picking out cheese for your sandwich. Like, how do you navigate making sure that you're having the right conversation with the right people? Do you have like a qualifying process or a way to quickly identify like, hey, this is just not going to be a good fit for us?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question too. That particular instance was, I'd say, a little bit in the past. So at that time, and of course at the supermarket, I don't have like my computer with me to like do research on who the client is, so on and so forth. But especially with us now, especially at Authority on Demand, we take a look and see like what you already have out there to see if you would match with what we're able to do and how we're able to help you. We look at existing TED Talks you might have or existing blog posts, YouTube videos, and kind of see like where we can help you expand from there. So that would be like a qualifying process, see if we're a good match. But then other times, of course, it's the rapport. Like someone right off the bat, for the most part, is like, hey, like I need this done right now. But like they're also saying it in like a way that's just, gritty and demanding. Then that's just not the person you want to work with. So there is like a filtering process too, to be like this is not going to be a good experience for both of us. So like, good luck. Maybe somebody else is a better match too. So yeah, a matter of like what they've already done, how we can leverage that and help them, or also like, are we a good fit too, just personality wise as well. I'm not sure if you ever had any of those clients like, yeah, like I'm just gonna pass on this one. You're a little, a little much.
I will say that early on, I took a lot of clients that I shouldn't have.
Mm.
And one of the most freeing feelings in the world as a small business owner is being able to look at someone who wants to write you a check for more than you used to make in a month and being able to say, no, I don't think it's a good fit. I'm going to recommend you go talk to so and so.
Yeah.
It's really scary. It's really difficult to do that because, big checks are nice. But having that freedom and the ability to say no to those clients it's such a freeing feeling that I encourage all of you to remember that it's okay. It's okay to say no to those big clients because you're setting yourself up to have what you want out of life, and not everybody's willing to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you got to think about what the process is actually going to be like before you make that big paycheck. And that being said, I mean, maybe it's something you do want to take on, but then you raise that paycheck even more to make it even more worth your while, right? And if they say no, well, then like no harm, no foul. It's a done deal. But yeah, I mean, there's so many horror stories out there about clients who are just demanding, nonsensical. It's sometimes it doesn't make sense. There's as a ghostwriter editor, I can help you make your book great. I can help you get it to a place where it speaks to the reader's pain points, like we spoke about before, make it a bestseller. But if you are set in your ways and you want your specific format, it's not going to get there. I recently edited a client's book. It was like 200,000 words of just repeated content. Yeah, right. And so I cut it down literally to like 40,000 words. And then she wanted everything added back in. So at that point, I'm like, okay, well, we'll redo it, but I mean, it's just not going to be there. So again, I'm rambling, but just an example of like, think about what the process might be like for you.
Yeah, you nailed it. And, we could probably sit and nerd out on this all day
Yeah.
and tell horror stories and fantastic stories, right? We have clients that have had great success just by trusting the process. And so I do want to respect your time because I know it's very valuable. How do we find you, follow you, check out more of your content? Because I know this is just the tip of the iceberg, having been a guest on your amazing podcast as well.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And everyone, if you're interested in having your own book written or honestly just establishing your authority, we do so much more than that here at Authority on Demand. We have everything from podcasting to TED Talks, media appearances. So it's authorityondemand.com. So come check us out.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Danielle, thanks again. This has been a blast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a lot of fun. Have a great day, everybody.
Absolutely. Listen, if you guys and gals enjoyed the show, if you got some value out of it, share it on social media. Let the world know. Tag me, tag Danielle. Maybe you know somebody who, they've got an awesome story and they need to tell it. Send them this episode. Tell them, hey, I was thinking about you. I think you'll like this show. Check it out. Because that's what this is all about. Spreading the message, helping people get dialed in, finding a way to live the life that they want to live. And at the end of the day, you've got a great story. I've got a great story. We all got stories to tell. So make sure you're checking out Lessons from the Boiler Room. That's the next book that's just coming out here at Call the Damn Leads, and it's got all of the amazing stories from all of our podcasts in 2024 and more. Grab them on the store at callthedamnleads.com. We'll see you guys next time.
When the doubt gets loud, but answer that call. Vision ain't real till you grind at speed, so breathing deep. Then call the damn leads. Call the damn leads.